Indian Military Review, and the Center for Joint Warfare Studies organized a 2-day webinar and virtual expo on night vision and electro-optics India on 16 to the 19th of January 2021 for the Indian Armed Forces, Paramilitary Forces and Industry. The event covered thermal imaging, image intensifiers, infrared detectors, surveillance and reconnaissance, laser rangefinders, weapon sights, integrated helmets, periscopes and masts, NVDs for platforms, binoculars, goggles and monocles, and fire control systems. The Director General of Infantry, Director General of Capability Development, the Director General of Armored Corps and the Additional Director General of the Army Design Bureau were among the distinguished speakers. There were 7 sessions over 2 days and the video recording of the proceedings were rebroadcast over the next 2 days.
General Kalu, Sena Medal, Director General Capability Development, General Samantra, Sena Medal and Bar, Director General Infantry, General Ravi Arora, Chief Executive Officer, Indian Military Review, and a distinguished fellow at St. George, who was also commanded an infantry division, Mr. Ved Prakash Ji, Head Business Development, Weapons, Sensors, and C4I Systems, and Government Relations, Tata Advanced Systems, Colonel K.V. Kuber, Director Defense and Aerospace, Ernst & Young, General K.S. Brar, Director General Armored Corps, General Anjan Mukherjee, General G.D. Bakshi, General Vinod Bhatia, distinguished members of St. George and other distinguished chairs and panelists, especially from the BSF, representatives of DRDO, DPSUs, and the industry, serving officers from the 3 services, and all other participants. Jai Hind, and a very warm welcome to everyone. On behalf of St. Joe's, I thank General Kalu, General Samantra, Colonel Kuber, Mr. Ved Prakash for joining the inaugural session to share their valuable perspectives. I also thank General Ravi Arora and Brigadier Rajat Upreti of St. Joe's for organizing this webinar and virtual exhibition. St. Joe's has been spearheading the effort to bring war-fighting capabilities at night in sharp focus through this annual event for the last 6 years. I take this opportunity also to put the deliberations that follow in the right context. Any discussion on night vision brings to mind Clausewitz's cliched observations on the fog of war and uncertainty in battle. We had very astutely observed that a great part of information is contradictory and a still greater part is false, and by far the greatest part is doubtful. But that was 2 centuries ago. Technology-driven 21st century conflicts in the Gulf, Iraq, Afghanistan, Ukraine, Syria, Nagorno-Karabakh, and closer home, contestations in our own neighborhood have very clearly demonstrated that battlefield transparency-driven information superiority equals combat superiority. Commanders are close to having a Napoleonic view from the hilltop, by day or night, which was considered a chimera till very recently. The ability to own the night and exploit inclement weather conditions is critical for success across the spectrum of conflict, including gray zone contestations. Warfighting is a 2-sided game, and each side competes to trump the observation-driven OODA cycle by generating an operational tempo that is always a step or 2 ahead of the adversary. Conventional peer adversaries and terrorists alike are leveraging technology to gain that situational advantage. The Russians have leveraged pooled snipers in Ukraine very innovatively and very effectively. In the sub-conventional domain, Generation 1 NVDs were used by the militants 20 years back in Afghanistan and Iraq. ISIS and Taliban are using commercially available advanced ones, including with LRF. And closer home, militants in J&K are also using NVDs. Retaining robust situational awareness advantage in contested situation is evidently a critical necessity. And it's a challenge too, especially in our context, considering the varied frontiers, weather, and threats. In all these short and intense engagements, victory will invariably crown a connected and augmented warfighter who possesses quicker and a sharper observation, detection, processing, and shooting capability at the point of decision. The technology provides optronic eyes to understand the situation reflexively and intuitively. Warfighting in all the three domains, land, sea, and air, has been truly transformed by ubiquitous multispectral AI-enabled sensors and processors. The awe-inspiring demonstration by drone swarms yesterday at the Army Day Parade was just a precursor of our own growing capabilities. In today's dispersed warfighting philosophy, decision-making needs to be decentralized as well, and artificial intelligence needs to be pushed closer to the warrior at the front. For hierarchical and fixed networks are unlikely to survive. The challenge, therefore, lies in providing user-friendly, lightweight, low-maintenance systems to enhance the warfighter's awareness, agility, and lethality without imposing physical and cognitive burdens. Our approach to design and development, therefore, needs to be warfighter-centric. We also must be very clear-eyed about our own requirements, carefully weighing our requirements for enhanced NVDs with fusion, shortwave infrared, head-up displays, and artificial enhancement and networking for even individual devices. Our choices and priorities carry a very high cost implication, since these devices use special materials and niche technologies regulated by proliferation control regimes. However, several low-cost but advanced commercially available image intensifier technologies also have nearly Gen 2 plus capabilities, and it would be worth examining if these could meet some of our urgent needs. The joint qualitative requirements for common devices across platforms and common protocols for sharing imagery seamlessly are also needed urgently to deliver the desired convergence in joint warfighting. DRDO, DPSUs, and increasingly private players have shown great promise in indigenization. We now have a growing number of Indian firms meeting our critical needs, including some of them with footprints in advanced countries. So Atmanirbharta clearly is today's clarion call, and committed research in core technologies like microelectronics, signal processing, advanced materials, semiconductors, metal semiconductor interfaces, photo emission, artificial intelligence, edge computing, to name a few, are the only way to gain an asymmetric advantage. So fostering innovations, however, calls for a serious overhaul of our existing processes and procedures. Some welcome initiatives have been already instituted. The Army Design Bureau's Compendium of Problem Definition Statements 2020 includes 13 surveillance-related systems out of 45. The fourth edition of Defense India Startup Challenge has 7 out of 11 related to sensors, detection, visibility, imagery analysis, and swarms. And Make 2 category in the DAP, Defense Acquisition Procedure 2020, is a path-breaking step 2. So modernizing and transforming always present a challenge, given that the fund availability is unlikely to increase. And joint capability development presupposes ownership at the highest levels. Senior leaders of the three services, Central Armed Police Forces, the R&D community, academia, and industry must therefore encourage innovation and put money where the mouth is, apportioning budgetary resources judiciously to ensure preparedness for the present tasks, as well as modernizing and transforming for the future. This webinar brings together all stakeholders, including those at the functional levels, to facilitate sharing of grounded perspectives and concerns. We are sanguine that purposeful deliberations will streamline our joint efforts and throw up policy and procedural recommendations. So without much ado, we now begin with the keynote address by General Carlo. General Carlo has had a very distinguished service career. He has participated in Operation Pawan in Sri Lanka, served on UN peacekeeping assignments in Cambodia, Eritrea, and Ethiopia, commanded an engineer brigade, and was the chief engineer at Eastern Command before assuming the present assignment. I now request General Carlo to deliver the keynote address. Over to you, sir.
General Srivastava sir, General Samantra, Colonel K.V. Kuber, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. At the outset, I thank St. George for inviting me to deliver the keynote address at the webinar this morning. I consider it both a privilege and a pleasure to be amongst this distinguished gathering of the academia, officers from the services and Ministry of Defense, Defense Public Sector units, as well as the private sector. Webinars of this nature are always professionally enriching, and I am confident that the knowledge, experience, and cumulative wisdom of this gathering would help address the nuances and finer aspects of night vision devices, electro-optics, and night operations, aimed at not only addressing the technical and operational needs of the three services and building defense sector self-reliance, but also for providing wings to the aspirations of private enterprises, startups, and the entire innovation and defense ecosystem. While speakers to follow would be covering pertinent aspects of the theme in detail, I would attempt to contextualize the importance of modernization of armed forces in general as per the environmental realities our nation faces today. Ladies and gentlemen, let me first dwell on the prevalent security environment and the concomitant challenges to our armed forces. We are indeed transiting through interesting times as the nation faces a unique conundrum due to the convergence of multiple challenges. In mid last year, while we went into a lockdown to combat the unprecedented pandemic and associated economic retraction, the hitherto threat in being of a two-front war emerged as a stark reality as a result of Chinese aggression along the northern borders. At a time when national priorities need to focus on economic revival and developmental issues, the government faces this onerous responsibility without an option to slacken the ongoing defense modernization as the prospect of increased Sino-Pak collusion plays up like never before. The situation is even more complex as both our adversaries together present a canvas of potential conflicts across the complete spectrum of warfare. Environmental realities dictate that the nature, spectrum, or level of conflict notwithstanding, the Indian Armed Forces will always be in the forefront given the nature of our territorial disputes and the inevitable need for boots on ground in conflict situations. Further lessons from ongoing conflicts across the globe highlight the hugely altered nature of war fighting. In particular, the most recent one between Azerbaijan and Armenia, also called the Nagorno-Karabakh War, has adequately demonstrated that the side which stays ahead in the Udaluru and is able to adopt new technology to enhance battlefield transparency and accordingly alter its tactics is bound to succeed. Night-enabled devices play a key role to enhance the effectiveness of our soldiers in a battlefield environment, be it on small arms, armored fighting vehicles, aircrafts, helicopters, ships, or drones. To cite a few examples in the Indian context, during the Kargil conflict, an acute need was felt for night-enabled devices, which were procured from abroad as the technology did not exist to manufacture these indigenously at that time. These devices not only facilitated success, but also helped reduce our casualties. Even today, effective utilization of these devices on the line of control has contributed substantially in bringing down infiltration, enabling the army to effectively deal with the situation. Consequent to the government's need to balance its expenditure between conflicting security requirements vis-à-vis economic revival, the Honorable Prime Minister has given a clarion call for Atmanirbhar Bharat. A top-down approach has been taken on issues like streamlining of procurement procedures, focused resource allocation, encouraging research and development, boosting exports, disinvesting in PSUs, setting up of defense corridors, etc. Defense indigenization is the core objective today, and this, I believe, is a fundamental shift. Coupled to this shift is also the scale at which this is being attempted. And to bring about a transformation on such a scale, there is a requirement of complete unity of aim and bounds of creative energies. Risks and challenges will have to be addressed vigorously, and a new policy landscape evolved, a field in which a host of activities have happened recently. In the recent past, the government has released two base documents, that is the Defense Acquisition Procedure 2020 and the Draft Defense Production and Export Promotion Policy DPEP 2020. The key features of DAP 2020 are enhancement of indigenous content, rationalization of trials and testing procedures based on employability, creation of additional chapters on make and innovation and design and development. It has also listed several provisions to encourage FDI to establish manufacturing hubs for both imports and exports, thereby protecting the interests of domestic industry in the country. Let me now briefly cover the role and charter of Directorate General of Capability Development. The role is to plan procurement of all Class A weapons and equipment for modernization of the Indian Army, carry out trials and evaluation of equipment, including aspects of research, development and production, introduction of new equipment, and change of status of the equipment in service, export of equipment, and control of equipment or ammunition in short supply. We have a vast charter of responsibility from coordination of policy regarding equipment, including provisioning and maintenance of reserve, to planning and laying down priorities for modernization and upgradation program in consultation with users. Trials of new equipment and weapon systems and major projects are conducted by the Capability Development Directorate, which also monitors all capital procurement cases and conducts contract negotiation of cases under delegated financial powers and processing of MOD cases. The charter also includes liaison with industry and PSUs for research and development projects undertaken for the Army, including aspects of production. One important aspect that merits attention in this process is the Service Qualitative Requirements, or SQRs, and RFI. The bedrock of a successful acquisition process is clearly identifiable and well-researched SQRs. The issue of RFI is mandatory for all acquisition cases. This not only provides available info for formulation of SQRs, but also acts as advance intimation to the industry. This, along with communication to the public version of long-term acquisition plan, would help industry to work out the technical requirements and build in-house capability in order to meet the future requirements. There have been instances in the past where, due to lack of foresight and formulation of SQRs, the industry was unable to provide the solution and cases were dropped. However, let me assure you that we have refined our process to ensure realistic SQRs are being defined, albeit adhering to the best standards acceptable to the users, that is the armed forces. Amongst the other initiatives that we have taken to hasten the process of procurements includes interaction with vendors at RFI stage and providing draft RFPs at AON stage to smoothen the process and ensure that there are no bottlenecks at a later stage. Refinements in our trials procedure includes conduct of concurrent trials to accept certifications and simulations, use of composite trial teams, amongst others. It has been a constant effort to refine the acquisition process, and the DAP 2020 promulgated in October is testimony to this effort. Another major initiative with which the Army is engaging actively has been the setting up of defense corridors, an initiative with promises to fundamentally refine the defense manufacturing landscape in the country. Creating capacities in the private sector on a long-term basis is essential for true reliance. While requirements of our defense forces are sufficiently large to generate adequate demand, private defense industry has the potential to not only serve our own armed forces, but also create a healthy export market. I believe the spin-offs of such a vast entrepreneurial exercise will lead to strong value addition into technology and manufacturing sectors and would spawn a self-propagating ecosystem. Night enablement of the Indian Army. With specific reference to night enablement of the Indian Army, I would now touch upon a few important aspects. Almost all schemes, such as TI and II, are being progressed as by Indian/IDDM. Quantities being procured are in parts, leaving sufficient scope for future technology being left aside in all cases, since the procurement schemes are spread over 2.5 to 3 years. Enhanced performance parameters is generally being included in RFPs as an incentive. Trials are being conducted by a composite trial team to reduce time taken. Most of the parameters are being evaluated on vendor certification or lab tests rather than elongated field trials. With respect to personal weapons and infantry support weapons, these are being made available at Infantry School MAU, and all trials are being conducted at MAU for ease of vendors. I would like to reiterate that the Army is increasingly looking at indigenous solutions for its needs. India today has matured to such levels of industrial capacity and technological capability that most of our requirements can be realized in-house. Its range of requirements is wide, and technological requirements are simpler and are relatively easier to achieve, affording opportunity to everyone. Our sheer numbers make a sound and sustainable business case. The average cost of acquisition is also lower, enabling wide participation by the MSMEs. I am confident that our outreach to the industry and the academia will lead to timely creation of new capabilities for employment by the Indian Armed Forces. In the end, I would like to express my deep appreciation to St. George for identifying such a relevant topic and organizing this webinar with participation by all the stakeholders. I am sanguine that the webinar will delve into the nuances of technical and operational aspects of night operations and help in generating ideas towards developing solutions for defense services, as well as a robust military industrial complex for complementing other aspects of our national power as we look ahead to a greater role within the region and across the globe. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Yeah, thank you. Am I audible, sir? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Fine.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, General Kalu, for those insightful observations and such reassurance, in particular as regards the measures, a host of measures taken towards Atmanirbharta. In particular, the amendments that have been instituted in DAP 2020, as well as the DPEP 2020. And you have very, very categorically mentioned as to how there is a sharp focus on making the RFIs and SQRs more realistic, as also in particular focusing on IDDM and Indian manufacture, promoting private industry participation, especially as regards night vision devices. So thank you so much for your observation, sir. I would now call upon General Samantra, Sena Medal and Bar, to share his observations. General Samantra, as you all are aware, has commanded an infantry brigade on the line of control as well as in Congo. He has commanded a division in the Northern Command and was the MGGS at Northern Command before assuming the present appointment. May I now request General Samantra to kindly share his observations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I am humbled for that introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I thank the St. George and IMR for this opportunity to address all the stakeholders through this webinar, Night Vision and Electro-optics, India 2021. I candidly appreciate St. George and IMR for their efforts in getting all associated with this webinar, enhancing the night fighting capability under one roof. Ladies and gentlemen, we all are aware that current battlefield melee presents challenges of war fighting with no distinguishing line between day and night. Coupled with this, rapid modernization and the prevailing operational situation, especially on our northern borders, leads us to a situation where Indian Army, especially the frontline troops, have to remain perpetually alert and prepared. Concurrently, due to Army's increasing involvement in hybrid warfare, our equipping policy ensures wide-ranging equipment to counter multiple threats in all terrain and weather conditions. The infantry today, to ensure appropriate round-the-clock operational preparedness at all levels, is being equipped with a variety of night vision devices. This equipment, comprising of both image intensification and thermal imaging technologies, cover the complete ambit to enable situational awareness at short ranges and target acquisition capabilities at long ranges as well. An infantry subunit, therefore, has an ability to acquire targets through surveillance devices like passive night vision goggles, passive night vision binoculars, handheld thermal imager, and other long-range all-weather surveillance devices, and follow it up with effective engagement through weapons designed with both image intensification and thermal imaging-based sights. Today, the technology, especially in electro-optics, is crossing new frontiers. Alive to this fact, the Indian Army is investing in available state-of-the-art devices as well as futuristic technologies and products. Infantry today has come a long way from firing flares and carrying bulky and heavy active infrared-based surveillance devices to third-generation image intensification devices with ability to acquire targets even under starlit conditions. In the domain of thermal imaging, the plan is to induct both cooled and uncooled systems, especially for personal weapons due to their obvious advantages in carriage and speed of target acquisition. Forever being in combat, the infantry is also exploring futuristic solutions in electro-optics to remain ahead of the adversary in the modernization curve. Concurrent to enabling induction of third-generation image intensification-based devices and thermal images devices with 12 to 17 micron pitch, procurement of ballistic computer-based sights is also in full steam. Gentlemen, recent developments in sensor technology, computing methods, and networking present interesting opportunities to further improve night enablement devices by making them smart and intelligent. More details on this particular aspect on frontline troops will be covered by our Colonel Infantry 8 in his presentation in subsequent session. I also appreciate the Indian industry to have made deep forays into indigenous production of day and night target acquisition devices. Indigenization in this field is certainly realizing the Atmanirbhar vision of Honorable Prime Minister and also enabling research and development in future. My appreciation also to DRDO for successful development of border surveillance system and enhancing crucial surveillance capabilities, especially in super high altitude areas of Eastern Ladakh. Gentlemen, the biggest challenge for both industry and services today is access to core technology. Steep gradient of technological advancement curve and availability of multitude of technologies necessitate intense research and development and innovative solutions to stay relevant in times to come. While the Indian industry has achieved capability to produce a host of electro-optic devices, including image intensification tube, but import of thermal imaging sensor continues to remain a concern. With majority of equipment applications based on thermal imaging sensor, indigenous sensors will give unparalleled capabilities in development of future technology. The service headquarters is attempting to induct this technology through various arrangements and has also put across this requirement as a problem statement. To inform the House, the Ministry of Defense has also undertaken a number of steps to revolutionize and simplify the procurement process. The DAP 2020 has evidently streamlined the procedure by inducing flexibility and enhancing buyer-seller interaction. It is therefore important that All stakeholders, especially users, developers, and producers, take advantage of provisions in the DAP and ensure that operationally appropriate product reaches the user in an acceptable time frame. A host of companies are collaborating with foreign partners for induction of latest technology. My request is to indigenize the technology to the extent possible to avoid reliance on imports and pave way for further upgradation in night enablement. In the spirit enshrined in the DAP, the service headquarters is ensuring a level play field to ensure multi-vendor participation, not only for induction of quality equipment, but also to enable the industry to enhance export potential in defense manufacturing. Gentlemen, finally, I would say a proactive and synergistic approach with due handholding will ensure that Indian Army remains operationally prepared with the art technology. With that, Jai Hind and thank you.
Yeah, thanks, General Samantra, for those once again very insightful observations. In particular, he has highlighted the importance of the right kind of devices and systems at the tactical level, at the cutting edge level. While he has said that much progress has been made, he has also flagged certain concerns that need to be taken note of, particularly when it comes to thermal imaging devices. And he has very, very correctly observed that there needs to be much more synergy between the buyer and the seller, and not just that, in all the three legs of the triad, that is the users, the defense and research vertical, as well as the industry. So thank you so much, sir, for your observations. I now call upon Mr. Ved Prakash G, Head of Business Development, Weapons, Sensors and C4I Systems at Tata Advanced Systems Limited. He has also served at Bell, Seagate Technologies International, Singapore, and Centum Electronics. He is involved in development. Am I audible? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, he is involved in development of space applications, RF, digital, and analog systems, and mixed domains. So thank you so much, Mr. Ved Prakash, for your participation. May I now request for your interjection.
Thank you so much, General Srivatsa, for the kind introduction. Hope I am audible. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah. So I actually, good morning to General Kaloon, General Samantha, Colonel Kuber, and all the dignitaries, as well as all our customers and also the industry friends. So I have just tried to put up a presentation for the same. I'll just display my presentation. Yeah, good morning to all of you once again. I'll just give an overview of our company and also what are the optronics capabilities. So we are a part of 150-year-old Tata Group, and Tata is the most respected and also the trusted brand in India. So Tata Group has an annual revenue of around 800 lakh crores. With a market capitalization of around 11 lakh crores, and with employee strength of 7,20,000 people, serving India, UK, and US markets, And we are the only Indian company in the top 100 global ranking. And we have global operations spanning over 100 countries in 6 different continents. So to give the end-to-end solution for various defense and aerospace customer, Tata has integrated all the defense and aerospace companies of Tata under one umbrella called as Tata Aerospace and Defense. So we have organized ourselves into 4 different business units. So the first one is called the aerostructures. The second one is the airborne platforms. The third one is the weapon systems, sensors and C4I solutions. And the fourth one is the land mobility platforms. So I represent the weapon sensors and C4I systems. So my presentation going forward will be on the weapon sensors and C4I systems. So in our business unit, we design and develop various systems like radars, naval systems, rocket, missile launchers, trusted platforms, fuel cell systems, electronic warfare systems. And also we have taken up the modernization of airfield infrastructure. We have completed the first order and then we are executing the second order. And a lot of artillery gun systems we have designed and developed in collaboration with DRDO. We have given a lot of solutions for the border security management systems, and of course the thermal imaging and night vision devices, which is the focus of today's topic, and also the air defense systems. So we have a dedicated R&D center at Mumbai, and we have a dedicated defense R&D and production facility at Electronic City, Bangalore. We have a 50-acre plug-and-play facility at Vemgal, Kolar, and we have a dedicated defense production facility at Aerospace SEZ, Bangalore. And various production facilities with us include the system integration base. We have a dedicated EMI, EMC test facilities, optronics production facilities, and various clean rooms, stores, precision engineering, environment test facility, rain test facility, automated test equipment capabilities, and assembly and testing capabilities. So coming to the PCB assembly facilities of us, so we have an automatic line which is housed in class 100,000 clean room for the SMB assembly and testing activities. And we have various precision assemblies with class 1000 workbenches. So we also, apart from the fully automatic SMD assembly line facilities, we also have the through-hole capabilities, dual-wave soldering machines, component lead forming, and manual soldering stations, apart from the BGA, X-ray inspection, etc. So we also have the NABL accredited environmental test facility as per JSS Penta 5 or MIL 810 compliance. So various things you can see here are the tropical exposure, thermal shock, cath test, combined climatic and vibration test, shock test, ESS and climatic test, pump, acceleration, altitude, then again combined vibration and shock test, rapid temperature cycling test, etc., etc. I don't want to go into the details of each and every test equipment. So one thing which is of worth noting is the major EMI EMC test facility, which is one of the largest in India. So we have a 10-meter semi-anechoic chamber with floor loading capacities of 70 tons. So at a time, maybe 2 trucks can go inside and then get tested and come back. So the test frequency is from 10 hertz to 40 gigahertz, and all the accreditations, everything is under place. Then coming to the large system integration, as you are aware, we are into large system integrations like missile launchers, rocket launchers, electronic warfare system, etc., etc. So we have the big integration system base, totaling to 24 integration base, working right now on the single shift basis. And also we have the ability to augment capacity to 250 to 300 tracked or wheeled vehicles per annum. So coming to the optronics capabilities for security and surveillance. So you can see here we are into TI monocular weapon systems, IA binocular, And the ultra long range observation system is a totally indigenous solutions going up to 50 kilometers range. And the TI binocular, II monocular, weapon sights, and multifunction observation systems. So we have, the state-of-the-art assembly and testing infrastructure. So I think this was established 7 to 8 years back, keeping in mind the futuristic requirements of Indian defense. So we have a 10,000 square feet for the manufacture of third generation image intensifier based tube technology with various thermal imaging engines. And we have a 5,000 square feet clean room of class 10,000 K with class 1000 and class 100 laminar flow benches for assembly of precision optronics equipments. We have 5,000 square feet space for the lens manufacturing. We have specialized dark rooms inside the clean rooms. We have 30-meter dark tunnel for testing of the night vision devices. We have specialized chambers for environmental testing of optronics. So as I said, we have the best-in-class thermal images, and also the IA tube-based night vision devices. So it can be cooled TI systems, as you can see the photos here. The cooled binocular, multi-sensor binocular again. And this is for our own advanced towed array gun system, the observation systems. And as I said, the LOROS is one of the best in India. So it can perform up to 50 kilometers range. And also we have built various electro-optic systems for remote surveillance as well as vehicle mounted surveillance systems. And coming to uncooled TI systems, we have monoculars, weapon sights, binoculars, multifunction observation systems, driver night sights, driver viewer systems, etc. And coming to II tube-based NVDs, so again, monocular, binocular, etc. One thing which I would like to mention here is a Rajak Strix, which is the aviator goggle, night vision aviator goggle, which is the state-of-the-art, which this can go up to 2,100 FOM and gives the best performance with the latest technologies. So in short, I can say we are the major contenders in the night vision electro-optics project segments of the Indian MOD and MHA. And we have totally indigenously designed solution which are best in class uncooled and cooled thermal images, IA-based NVDs, and other electro-optic systems for multiple applications. And the detailed presentations will be given by our design head, Vinod Yadav, in the subsequent sessions. So, as I can say here, the TASL is geared up to address the latest technologies and high volume requirements. So we have created the right mix of design, production, and testing infrastructure, which is very crucial for addressing the large volume NVD requirements in India. So we have an in-house R&D expertise required to develop cutting-edge products in the night vision segment in full compliance to IDDM requirements with respect to the DAP 2020. And we have also invested in high volume production and testing infrastructure to produce 800 to 1,000 night vision systems per month. So this is the largest capability which I can say, in the private sector in India. So we also have the in-house automatic PCBA, critical testing, calibration, ESS, QT under one roof. So since everything is under one roof, so we no need to go back to any other industries or any other job. So everything is done in-house under one roof, which will ensure the customer of the the required quality, reliability levels, and also the delivery timelines. So we are also developing the state-of-the-art futuristic products, keeping in mind the requirements of defense, paramilitary, and security forces. Then one slide I would like to mention here on the policy fine-tuning and few more measures. I think a lot of things have been done by the MOD and also our Honorable Prime Minister on various initiatives like Atmanirbhar Bharat, DAP 2020, import ban list, class 1 local contractor preference, focus on boosting export, etc., etc. So while a lot of things have been already done, I think few more requests from TASL side for fine tuning of the policies. So one is to include all the class of night vision equipments, whether it is cooled, uncooled, or IA based, under the second import ban list. So if it is done, so then the total import will stop, and then there is a focus on the indigenous design, development, and manufacturing of the complete range of the optoelectronics products. Then the second is, so we request the category of the procurement to be IDDM to give focus on the indigenous design and development and manufacturing, because the design is the key here. As my previous speakers have told, I think the reliance on import has to stop totally at one point of time, and then it should be a total indigenous solution. Then the third one is, while procedures allow companies to bid the multiple products with one EMD. So what is happening is there are several competitors who will field 3 to 4 different products, for the NCNC trial. So even if you take like 6 vendors, so 6 into 3, it may be 18 to 20 different products which have to be evaluated by MOD during the NCNC trials, which will put a lot of pressures on them, and also it may lead to chaos. So we request MOD to specify all the vendors to field only one compliant product which they think that is the best product, instead of fielding 3 to 4 different products. And also we request MOD to ensure that the RFPs of today are to the world-class standards. For example, the 1800 minimum FOM for IA tubes and 640 by 480 pixel minimum for the thermal images, and also full HD for the visible cameras. So these are some of the things which we recommend the MOD to take it up in their next the revision of DAP, or slightly fine tune their RFPs to reflect this. So this is the only request from our side, from the industry. So thank you so much, and I would like to acknowledge the IMR organizers for giving me an opportunity to present TASL in front of all of you. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ved Prakash, for firstly giving us a very, very good amount of reassurance by showing as to how Tata Advanced System Limited has got a very big footprint when it comes to night vision devices and systems. You have shown that you have got world-class production and testing capacities, capabilities to the tune of about 800 to 1,000 devices per month, and as to how you are meeting world-class standards. You have made a host of recommendations for consideration, particularly including NVDs and electro-optical systems in the second import ban list, making sure that IDDM is the preferred route of induction of these systems, as also one EMD for multi-product systems bidding. And finally, you want a minimum world-class standard to be given, a figure of merit of more than 1800. I think largely all the 3 services are looking at something more than 1700. And secondly, you want the resolution also to be minimum 640 by 480. That would need further consideration. I'm sure the users will weigh this against the other costs involved with this kind of resolution. So thank you so much, Mr. Ved Prakash, for your observations.
Thank you, sir.
I now call upon Colonel Kuber, Director, Defense and Aerospace, Constant Young, who was commanded an electronic warfare regiment and was Director of Capital Acquisition Programs, in addition to being the Director of Defense Offsets Facilitation Agency, DOFA. He has been in this field for a very, very long time, and also heads the Sogosha Advisory, and very frequently engages with St. George and the initiatives of IMR. So thank you so much, Colonel Kuber, for joining us. And maybe now I request you for your observations.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Lieutenant General Sunil Srivastava, sir, Adi Vishisht Seva Medal, VSM and Bar. Firstly, let me extend a very hearty welcome to you as the Director of St. George. It's a very exciting journey here. General Ravi Aurora, sir, Chief Editor IMR, Lieutenant General Anil Kumar Samantara, sir, Sena Medal and Bar, General Khalon, sir, Sena Medal, Mr. Ved Prakash, sir, from Tatas, General Johar, who's been in the forefront of leading the industry to achieve such great excellence in indigenization and in showcasing them, including, you know, the swarm drones that the Director St. George was mentioning in his opening remarks. I think identifying such companies, identifying gems in the industry, bringing them up, and taking them to levels not known thus far is a very great achievement. I think the Indian Army is doing a great job about this. The ideas and innovation of Indian Army, organized by the Army Design Bureau, I thought was a very great step. And the swarm drones, of course, yesterday was mind-boggling. And I've been interacting with such companies like New Space, who have a vision of bringing something far, far greater into this country the world has never seen. With some good luck, I think we are going to see some great innovations over here, and we're going to see a pseudo satellite being launched in the near future. So all the best to all of them. So as a background, night vision is something that has started even in the Second World War, and they started with some image intensifier tubes. In fact, the Germans were the first to pioneer all this. And then way back into the 60s, we came with, some sort of Gen 2, which was using a S11 cathode, which had a wavelength of about 650 nanometers. And then came the S20 with the gallium arsenide, cesium oxide, etc. And then the microchannel plates, and it went up to about 900 nanometers range. And then we got the filmless tubes, and then photonics was trying to define all this figure of merit and all that, which is 1800. I don't know if the Americans of defining a figure of merit, and then actually you miss the woods for the trees. So I think we need to be a little more careful when we draw up our QRs and not fall into these numbers, because they define a spectral sensitivity of more than about 1000 nanometers, a figure of merit about 1800, and highlight resolution of 57 LP per nm, and halo size and all that 0.7 mm. So at the end of the day, what is it? It's just a conversion of some light photons into electrons and amplifying these electrons back into photons of light. And therefore, the entire thing is about the photoelectric effect, the photocathode, the microchannel plate, and the secondary cascaded emission. I think we need to invest in this, and then a controlled electron avalanche. And if some fundamental research can go into these, I think that will be very good. Gen 1 is very affordable. The Director St. George was speaking about the approach to D&D and how it should be warfighter centric, and he also said how the militants are using the NVDs. So as long as it's meeting somebody's requirement, it's something that can be used. And therefore, whether it is Gen 1, Gen 2, if the militants are using something that has been discarded by the world and using it effectively, I think that is something we need to be a little wary about. So Gen 2 is, about 5,000 hours of use, and Gen about auto-gated, gated, and all this. So all that is, what do we mean by gating, auto-gating, and all is all that, how an II tube may be switched on and off, and then managing this duration, the gating duration, into nanoseconds or picoseconds, and for military application, how much light it can be allowed to pass through the MCP, and that's all about. And how do you draw a constant current, and that's the management that we are talking about. Then we have the white phosphor technology, which has come. And here is what I want to give the credits to. Last time in the night vision event, I met a very young girl from MKU. I was just walking through the stalls, and as I met her, her name is Prachi Gupta. And when I got engaged on a discussion with her on the 1800 FOM, and we talked about the luminous intensity and what is the the microamperes per lumen and things like that. And when we talked about it, I think that is where these companies have put in a lot of effort. They are making these II tubes to the requirements of the Indian Armed Forces. We have to actually see at the end of the day as to what is our requirement. So I took some inputs from Prachi. I took some input from Sankalp, from Tata, Sankalp Srivastav, and I think I want to integrate all of this to present it to you. So the products are moving from today from single sensor systems to multi-sensor systems, which can actually significantly improve the situational awareness of the user. And also moving from low resolution to high resolution imaging, and as the technology has actually matured. Now in thermal, we have lower pitch and high resolution sensors. The resolution of II tubes, for example, is now moving upwards of 72 to 75 LP per mm, while the Indian forces, the Indian Armed Forces are still using something like 64 in the resolution tubes. So I think we need to consider this, because these aspects become important. The intelligent imaging computational capabilities are being incorporated in systems for faster detection, recognition, and identification, which they call as the DRI, and the target acquisition for object detection, fusion, ballistic computers, etc. Now sensors are coming up, such as SWIR, NIR, and other low light CMOS sensors, which are useful in challenging environmental conditions such as fog, which we do often face. So a little bit of how we wrote the paper, because we create this knowledge paper in conjunction with IMR and Senjos. And so we talked about in the paper something about the IRD as to what type of research they're doing in terms of the gap measuring device, EO fire control system for armored vehicles, naval ships, holographic sites, and all that. And in 2019, they indigenously developed the thermal imaging dayside equipment, which was installed in the T-72s and the T-90s. The previous technology, the tanks had a range of about 150 to 200 meters, and that's increased to about, today we are talking about 3 and T-90 tanks, we're talking about 4 kilometers. In T-70 to about T-70 to 3 kilometers. Bell Machilipatnam and OLF are jointly producing this particular equipment. So OLF produces some night vision devices, passive night periscope for T-55, etc. And Bell has been exporting EO and fire control systems to other countries, including US, UK, Russia, Italy, Brazil, Germany, etc. And they have partnered, Controp has partnered with Bell for ruggedized day-night sensor for the armed forces, and we have to see as to how it's coming up. In the DEF Expo last year, Bell showcased some of these products, the holographic sites, TI sites, etc. In Aero India 2019, the previous one, they received a contract from Electro-optics, ELOP, for a variant of the EOIR payload. And there is an interesting development that has taken place in the meantime. When I look at the private industry, they are racing ahead, and I think they're racing far ahead. So, for example, if I talk about MKU, Thales and MKU have actually signed up for the joint development of the ELFI NVD. And MKU manufactures some highly advanced night vision and thermal equipment that are compatible with a host of commercially available combat equipment. In the DIF Expo 2020, I was amazed the way they had displayed a wide range of night vision equipment. In fact, they created also the environment where it was pitch dark and you could actually go inside and see the effectiveness of these equipment. And the weapon sights, the monocles, the binoculars that deploy 3G technology for excellent performance in very, very low light conditions. Rugged thermal sights, assault rifles, snipers, etc. I believe MKU is also working on high-end soldier optronic systems, which are being exported in high numbers, about 1,500 pieces per year. I was listening to General Kalam when he was talking about the policy measures and also the export market. And here I must tell you that MKU is already exporting more than about 500 crores every year. And they have a huge export market of more than about 100 countries, and these are the companies we should look at too, and push them forward to enhance our exports. The entire DP, PP, and the DPP, the DAP, or whatever we call it today, all this comes and integrates only when we identify these gems and push them forward. They do, in fact, companies like MKU also do a complete R&D. Manufacturing, testing, validation in-house, and it gives them the complete control as to how they create the expertise of the product. In fact, I was chatting with one of their boys who went on a trial, and he was into jungles, and it's a very interesting story when you hear some of these companies. They also partnered with some of the best players in the industry, such as Thales, and then we have Alpha Design. Alpha Design has been in this for a very, very long time. They do the passive night vision binoculars, the passive night vision goggles, the handheld TI sight, uncooled handheld thermal imaging binocular, and they have been also into a very inorganic sort of a growth in which they partner up with Israeli companies and bring out the technology and the manufacturing together in a beautiful blend that you create the entire make in India and the manufacture in India a concept. And today Alpha is also investing a lot in R&D. Tombow Imaging, for example, manufactures night vision monoculars, night vision binoculars, binocular vision devices, and they are already supplying to the armed forces, and they also export a lot out of the country. Tata, although we had Mr. Ved Prakash talking about it, I think I should also mention, although you're already aware of it, but they do the Gen 3 II, which has an FOM, I think, as high as 2100, and he talked about that the shaping of the policy, because their particular system has got as high as 2100 plus, and uncooled TI system using detectors, which has got a resolution of 640 by 480 and a pixel pitch of 12 microns. And I think that's why it's making sense when he makes that particular recommendation. And indigenous LR ultra long range EO systems with 100% IPR, and that's the strength of the Tatas. They've even superseded some of the foreign equipment in the past few years. Bell and OFB, this is a point that when we talk about the policy shaping and we say that we are doing everything under Buy Indian and Buy IDDM. One of the things that always pinches the private industry, which has actually come up so pretty late in our country, they are just about a decade old, while the DPSUs are about 7 decades old. So they have the first mover advantage, while the private industry is competing and they are almost at par or beyond them in many areas. But the sore point is Bell and OFB get a lot of nomination-based business through revenue. While the capital route may still be all right, but on the revenue side, I think they're getting a lot of nominations, and this nomination business has to stop someday. If we have to really create a competitive environment in our country, competition both in terms of challenging the technologies both in the private and in the public sector, and also getting the best price for the equipment for the armed forces today, as we all know, that one of the major problems that we are having is the budget. Although I see as late as yesterday that the finance ministry has allocated another 8,200 crores in the emergency purchases, and we are doing a lot of emergency purchase. But still, when we talk about systems and we talk about processes, I think we need to give a competition its due share. I think the government should promote the competition. So Alpha and Tata are also doing some sort of an R&D, like MKU also does, and they are pushing the foreign companies. They partnered with them. This entire defense ecosystem will actually, the prime contractors like Tata, Alpha, MKU, all these guys were there, Tonbo. So they are pushing the entire startup ecosystem. They are pushing the entire MSME ecosystem. And if you see how the MSMEs get the business at the end of the day, thing happens mostly from these lead companies. That the Army Design Bureau in the compendium of problem definition statements have talked about night vision devices. All solutions received were for mature products to be procured in direct commercial sales. Acquisition schemes were expected to be launched. They have talked about the foliage penetration radar technical integration with night vision surveillance devices being pursued, and night vision for aircrew. So Army Design Bureau is again taking a lot of initiatives, and they are also going a little conventional, and that's what I really love these guys for, because they have started talking beyond the DAP and beyond because at the end of the day, it's about an acquisition, it's about a capability for our armed forces. And I think these procedures should only be a guideline, and we should not become prisoners to procedures. I think that's a very important point that we need to. So the global market for the EOIR is something like $7.86 billion in 2019. That's what it was. And it's going to reach something like 9.37 billion by 2025. The military electro-optic systems EOIR market in India is anticipated to reach about $658 million by 2025. I think we are in for some good times as far as the industry is concerned. In the latest development, I think DRDO awarded a contract to Controp for the iSky 50 HD. US approved the sale of the NASAMS, which is coming with a lot of EOIR systems such as the M4A1 rifles, 5.5 cartridge, handle terminals, and I think that's also a very good thing. And Lockheed Martin had indicated that they'll provide India and Taiwan with the EO fire control system to help the AH-64 Apaches helicopter crew weapon systems accurately navigate in bad weather, etc. And Controp and Bell, of course, we talked about this partnership. So some challenges that are there in the current procurements is that the private players have the opportunity to participate in capital, but revenue, as I said, is still going on nomination to DPSUs. And these should be opened up, and the latest technology offered at competitive prices is what the armed forces should look at. Make in India is a great initiative, and it's giving the industry what it needs and giving the armed forces what it needs. And the push that is required in this is to concentrate on the IDDM, and however, the buyer nominated equipment, the BNE, is taking us backwards. So the purchase of II tubes under BNE scheme is hindering the investment in the private industry, and I think this needs to stop. So I think we need to have this entire thing open up. Even for BNE, maybe we should have a little competition if you want to do it. So, for example, due to BNE, the Indian forces may not be able to, the armed forces may not be able to reap the benefits of Gen 3, II tube technology. And in our thing, we talked about some contracts. We talked about the entire daylighting of the tanks. The Indian Army tanks T-70 to T-90 have got sharper night vision, and we talked about 1811. The RFP has been issued. We are expecting that this goes to the private industry, because the previous one was given under nomination to Bell. So I think again we need to ensure that it doesn't go under nomination, and we see open competition here. The Indian Army to purchase about 22,000 TI sights for the infantry assault rifles, and then Thales MKU. We talked about this Elfi night vision. And infantry. In fact, I was having a very good discussion with General Sandhu, the ADG infantry, about 6-7 months ago. And we talked about the sight for every weapon, TI, telescopic sights. I'm sure DG Infantry is here. He's going to take it forward. And because our soldiers need to have the best weapon over there, because what they are doing is something amazing. And, under those conditions, when I see that the Chinese are buckling down and are not able to stay at those heights, our soldiers are just braving it as though, they they are sitting in Connaught Place or by the seaside. So I think they need to be given with the best type of weapons. We talked about the thermal target system in January 2020, the thermal sensors from DRDO in January, sniper rifles. NSG has given with TI in September 2020. We had a laser, optical and non-optical sensors from DRDO in October. Development of modular mechanical structure for the thermal target systems, and advanced night vision for AK-47 in November 20 and INSAS. And we also see some state governments like Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Kerala, Chennai Port Trust, etc. They're also bringing in a lot. And I think from the point of view of policy shaping, all that I need to say once again is this is a discipline that we have advanced adequately, and this is a discipline where we don't need to go back. We don't need to take a retrograde step of doing a nomination and going back, because we have the industry here. And I think with this, I want to hand it over back to you, General Srivastava. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Colonel Kuber, for that very, I would say, detailed and very rounded, not just the historical perspective of evolution of night vision devices, but you also gave us a very rounded perspective of where the industry is today. You have gone to specifics and you have named a whole lot of private industry players, whether it's MKU, Tata's, Tonbo, Alpha Systems, as to where they are and how they're actually having footprints in the foreign market, and how in the capital acquisitions they have got their fair share. But unfortunately for the revenue route, where the procedures as of now, my understanding goes, is that the MGO has kind of a binding for PSU preference, and that leaves in just about 3 or 4 or whatever percent. I'm sure General Carlo would be more up to date than the figures that I'm saying. But those limitations, as you rightly observed, that BNE that needs to go away. And you've also made some very good observations and recommendations as regards people being cost competitive. And the bottom line remains that the user's requirements have to be met. So thank you so much, Colonel Kuber, and also for the research paper that Ernst & Young also places as part of this event for everybody's perusal. We would have listed all these procurement cases there, and so everybody, everyone watching the webinar, participating, would be able to benefit from the research work and, of course, your own very passionate observations. Thanks a lot, Colonel Kuber. So with that, the inaugural session, we have come to the end of that, and we'd be happy to take on any questions. Ravi Arora, are there any questions or anything?
So with your permission, I will share the screen and show them the paper that has been published. 1 second, sir. This is the paper which has been published, Night Vision and Electro-optics India 2021 by EY, and this will be sent to all participants by email, along with a link for you to download this paper. Ernst & Young being our event partner for all St. Joe's and IMR events, they do research and produce these papers which are released at the event. Very informative and useful papers. I will now close this screen. This slide says that it will be sent to all of you who have registered for this event.
It remains for me to thank General Karno, General Samantra, Mr. Ved Prakash and Colonel Kuber for having participated in the inaugural event. Thank you so much.